This lecture will be on electrophoresis. This is the usual disclaimer. I am not going to repeat this. Some picture in this presentation have been taken from public domain websites, popular books, to make the topic easy to understand. And the credit for such pictures remain with the original publisher. So what exactly is electrophoresis? So electrophoresis is a laboratory technique. It is a laboratory technique, lab technique for separating biomolecules, for resolving biomolecules based on size under the influence of an electric field. This is a simple definition of electrophoresis. All of you must know this. The laboratory technique for separating biomolecules based on size under the influence of an electric field. And there are primarily two, what you can say, types of electrophoretic techniques, wherein based on the gel matrix we use. For example, we use agarose, then it is called as agarose gel electrophoresis. And if we use polyacrylamide, we call it as polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. So agarose, that matrix is a derivative of agar, right? Whereas polyacrylamide, it is a polymer of acrylamide, right? So two major types of matrix being used for this purpose. One is agarose, which is a derivative of agar, and the other one is polyacrylamide, which is a polymer of acrylamide. Now, what is the difference between the two? See, agarose pore size is bigger, whereas in case of polyacrylamide, the pore size is smaller. Agarose gel electrophoresis, it is good for separation of DNA of more than 1 kilo base pair, more than 1000 base pair primarily. Whereas polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis is good for separation of DNA of less than 1 kb and proteins. Agarose gel electrophoresis inherently has low resolution, whereas in PAGE you can obtain higher resolution. Agarose, as I just told you, is a derivative of agar and it is extracted from seaweeds, whereas polyacrylamide is a cross-linked polymer of acrylamide. Agarose is non-toxic, whereas polyacrylamide is toxic. It is a neurotoxin, as well as it is carcinogenic as well. So while using polyacrylamide, one has to be really careful. It is primarily used for separating large molecules. It separates larger molecules, whereas it separates smaller molecules. In agarose gel electrophoresis, the staining dye for visualizing the biomolecule is DNA primarily is ethidium bromide. For visualizing DNA bands, we use ethidium bromide. ETBR in short, it is also called as. Whereas in PAGE, there are two staining dyes for visualizing proteins. One is Comasi Brilliant Blue. It is also called as CBB. Comasi Brilliant Blue. CBB. Okay. And the second one is silver nitrate. So two types of staining substances, compounds can be used for visualizing protein bands in the PAGE. One is called as CBB and the other one is called as silver nitrate. Let us understand first agarose gel electrophoresis. So agarose gel electrophoresis, we prepare the gel, agarose gel, and the concentration can range between 0.3 to 2%. 0.3 to 2% of agarose. So I told you what is meant by percent. It is gram percent. 0.3 to 2 gram percent. It should be gram percent here. Right? So what does it mean? It means you dissolve 0.3 gram in 100 ml or you dissolve from 0.3 gram to 2 gram in 100 ml of TAE buffer, tris acetate buffer 1x. So you prepare a stock which can be of higher concentration and then you can dilute it. You can make it 1x, 2x, 5x like this. So typically TAE buffer is prepared. It can be 10x, 20x, and then it can be diluted as per the requirement. The pH of the buffer is 8, right? Now concentration of the gel, to use 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, 0.8, 1, 2, it depends on what? It depends on the size of molecules to be separated. Size of DNA primarily to be separated. For resolving bigger DNA molecules, if the DNA is the size of DNA to be separated is more, then lower gel concentration means 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 can be used. And if the size of DNA molecules to be separated is small, then you can use the higher concentration of agarose, means 0.8, 1.0, 1.2, something like that, right? So concentration of agarose to be used will be based on what? Based on the size of DNA to be separated. For routine laboratory experiments, in our laboratory, we use 0.7 or 0.8% of agarose. Gram percent, right? Means unless it is mentioned, it is gram. So what does it mean? It means that 0.8 gram of agarose dissolved in 100 ml of TAE buffer, pH 8.0. That is the gel matrix, agarose gel matrix, routinely used in the laboratories. ETBr, ethidium bromide, 1 microliter per 50 ml of gel. And what is the concentration of the ETBr you prepare? 10 milligram per ml. So from the 10 milligram per ml concentration or solution of the ETBr, what do? You pipette out 1 microliter using a micropipette. And per 50 ml, if your gel is 100 ml, then you use 2 microliter, right? And it is added, it can be added in the gel or it can be added in the running buffer. So some people add it in the gel. I used to do this. I used to add it into the gel. Some others, they add it into the running buffer also. What is running buffer? Running buffer is 1x TAE. Again, the same, the one that we have used for preparing the gel. Then sample loading buffer, yeah, gel loading buffer. Okay, DNA sample, they are mixed with 0.25% bromophenol blue and 0.2% xylene cyanol and in 50% glycerol. So you prepare it first like this and then dilute it 1:1 with 50% glycerol before use. Why this is needed? This is needed because the density of the glycerol, because there is a glycerol in it. So the density increases so that your sample, means your DNA, it can sit in those wells that you have created in the gel. All right. And bromophenol blue and xylene cyanol, they will give you visible bands. So you can understand, you can know to what extent your sample has moved in the gel. Okay, otherwise DNA will not be visible. DNA will be visible only when you see it under UV light because of the ethidium bromide, which is present either in the gel or which is present in the running buffer. But your sample has run, your electrophoresis has run to what extent it can be visible using these two dyes, bromophenol blue or xylene cyanol. So this is how this horizontal gel electrophoresis, submerged gel electrophoresis, it looks like. Okay, so this is the gel. Okay, and this is the well. So you have, these 4 or 5 different wells like this. Using a comb, you can create this kind of well. So this is a side view, which is giving you a well. And this is the running buffer. And these are electrodes, right? And the one in blue is the running buffer, 1x TAE, right? What do? Using your loading, sample loading buffer, which contains bromophenol blue and xylene cyanol and glycerol, and you add DNA, your sample over here. I told you because of the presence of glycerol in it, the density increases so that the DNA sample can sit in these wells. You can see here, this violet color. Otherwise, if the density is similar to the running buffer, it will get mixed into the running buffer. So because of the presence of glycerol, it doesn't mix, it goes and sits over there. Typically, DNA being negatively charged, so under an electric field, it has a tendency to move towards the positively charged electrode, that is anode. Here. So your loading will be at the cathode here. You will keep the gel in such a way that you load, your wells are there towards the negative electrode. DNA being negatively charged, it is going to move towards the positively charged electrode when you apply electric field to it, right? So you switch on the power and DNA based on size will migrate. So how do you visualize? You visualize because of these kinds of blue, these kinds of purple, violet bands. These bands are visible under normal light, and these bands are there because of the bromophenol blue and xylene cyanol. Okay. So once it has reached towards almost 3/4, 80% of the gel, then you can switch off. You remove the gel and you see it under UV light. So because of the presence of ethidium bromide, which can be present in this or which can be present in the gel, you see these kinds of fluorescent orange color bands. These are the bands of the DNA, right? So this is the technique which is very commonly used for separating DNA. Now, as I said, agarose gel concentration can vary depending upon the size of DNA to be separated. 0.3% agarose, the size which can be separated higher, what you can say, size of the DNA 60 kilobase pair to 5 kilobase pair. 0.6 gram percent 20 kilobase pair to 1 kilobase pair. 0.7 10 to 0.8. So this is the one which is normally being used. 0.7 or 0.8. 0.9 7 kilobase pair to 2.5 kilobase pair. And higher concentration to 2 gram percent of agarose when the DNA size is less. 3 kilobase pair means 3000 base pair to 1 kilobase, 0.1 kilobase pair, that is 100 base pair. So these are inversely related. More the size of the DNA to be separated, less is going to be the concentration of agarose. Agarose, one R should not be there, right? So please understand, what do? We add DNA, we load DNA by keeping the gel in such a way that you are loading the DNA at the negative electrode. DNA being negatively charged, it has a tendency to move towards the positively charged electrode. Now, second technique is PAGE, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Since proteins do not have a constant size to charge ratio, so you now understand that proteins will have different, what you can say, ionic status because of the presence of positively charged amino acid in it or negatively charged amino acid. So they do not have a constant size to charge ratio because charge will depend on the composition of amino acids of that protein. So that therefore, for this reason, they are treated with SDS first. Sodium dodacyl sulfate, SDS. Sodium dodacyl sulfate, which is an anionic reagent. Anionic detergent है या anionic reagent. Anionic detergent भी बोल सकते हैं इसको. You can say anionic detergent. What does it do? It not only denatures proteins, because detergents, when you say, they have a tendency to disrupt the three-dimensional structure of the protein. So that is called as technically denaturation of protein. So it denatures the protein, but it also adds negative charges to it. So thus it makes protein separation on the basis of size by electrophoresis. So it enables protein to be separated based on size, because now the size to charge ratio becomes constant. Number of charges will be equal. As a result of that, proteins now will be separated based on size only. Okay, using under the influence of an electric field. So this is the protein, native protein in three-dimensional form. It has varying number of positive and negative charges. These positive and negative charges, are because of the presence of amino acids. Positively charged amino acids, arginine, lysine, histidine, these are positively charged amino acids. And aspartic acid, glutamic acid, these are the negatively charged amino acids. So this is the native protein, three-dimensional structure having positive and negative charges. Wherever these amino acids are there, you have those positive and negative charges. So when you treat it with SDS, what happens? It does two things. One, it denatures. That means the three-dimensional structure is disrupted. So now you have a linear structure, right? And it adds negative charges. So all over, because being an anionic detergent, it adds negative charges. So you will have all over the protein, you have negative charges. So this is the protein after SDS treatment. And this enables proteins to be separated based on size under the influence of an electric field. That is called as polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. SDS PAGE. Now, what do you require in this? So the requirement for this include acrylamide, which is the matrix. Then you require N bisacrylamide, which is a cross-linker, because PAGE is a polymer of acrylamide, so you require a cross-linking agent, and that cross-linking agent is N bisacrylamide. Then you have ammonium persulfate for initiating polymerization. So you add ammonium persulfate so that polymerization can be initiated. You have TEMED, tetramethylene diamine, TEMED, for catalyzing acrylamide polymerization. It acts as a catalyst. And staining dye, you can use either CBB 1 microgram, C brilliant blue 1 microgram, or AgNO3 10 nanogram. What does it mean? That when your protein concentration you are separating, if it is minimum 1 microgram or more, then CBB is a good staining dye. Then proteins can be very easily visualized using CBB, C brilliant blue. Please understand, the protein sample that you are separating, if you know the protein concentration in the sample is either 1 microgram or more than 1 microgram, then CBB will work better. And if the concentration is very low, 10 nanogram or something like that, 100 times less. Now 1 microgram is 1000 nanogram. So if the concentration of protein in the sample that you are separating is very low, 10 nanogram, 20 nanogram, 25, 30 nanogram, 50 nanogram, then that 50 nanogram sample, 50 nanogram protein will not be visible using CBB. You have to use AgNO3. AgNO3 is a much sensitive, what you can say, technique, staining dye. It can, stain even very low concentration of protein in the sample. So I mentioned over here, CBB is relatively less sensitive staining method. It can detect beyond 1 microgram of the protein sample. On the other hand, AgNO3, it is about 100 times more sensitive, and it can detect up to 10 nanogram protein in the sample. So depending upon the concentration of protein in the sample to be separated, you can use either CBB or you can use AgNO3 as the staining dye. Now you have two types of gels, stacking gels and resolving gel in the page. Stacking means, stacking gel is generally 4% acrylamide in tris chloride. 4% acrylamide in tris chloride. It should be acrylamide here, and the pH is 6.8. Protein samples are loaded here, so it will be the, what you can say, upper deck. It helps stacks the proteins and ensures that all of them are at the resolving gel at the same time. Okay, so this is very important, that protein, when you add, the way we have seen we add DNA in the wells, they will run into the stacking gel first, which is generally 4% acrylamide in tris chloride. Very important, pH is 6.8. It has got a lower pH. So where the mobility is slow and proteins will stack at the edge of the stacking gel. At the edge of the stacking gel, where the resolving gel starts. So they will all be stacked there simultaneously. Resolving gel, depending upon the concentration, depending upon the size of the proteins to be separated, the concentration of acrylamide can range between 3 to 30%. 3 to 30%. Okay, again the same formula. Higher the concentration of the proteins to be separated, higher the size of the proteins to be separated, lower should be the concentration, and vice versa. Again, it is prepared in tris chloride, but the pH is 8.0. The pH is different. And it resolves proteins based on size. So you have these kinds of things. So you have, this is the resolving gel, and then you have stacking gel. So you have wells here. You load sample here. Okay, the pH is different. Your running buffer is, has got a higher pH. It is tris-glycine buffer, right? So it has got a pH of around 8.3. And at pH 6.8, glycine is almost neutral. So the mobility of protein here in the stacking gel is slow, and all of them will come simultaneously, irrespective of their size. They'll all be stacked here. This is very important. At the edge of at the border of at the intersection of the stacking gel and resolving gel here. And then they will be resolved based on size in the resolving gel. This is resolving gel and this is stacking gel, right? The difference in pH of the two gels influence the rate of migration of proteins. A lower pH helps proteins to stack as a tight band in the stacking gel. At the end of this, all the proteins, they will come and stack as a tight band so that the resolution can take place and you can get sharp bands in the resolving gel. So this is how this is vertical gel electrophoresis apparatus. Okay, so you have this gel here, right? And using a micropipette, again you have a sample loading dye which contains glycerol in it, so that the protein sample can sit here. So you have this protein sample. There is a buffer here. This is a running buffer. Running buffer is, as I said, this glycine buffer is normally used, pH 8.3, right? And this is anode. This is cathode here. Okay. So this is vertical gel electrophoresis apparatus, and this is separating gel or resolving gel, as I said, tris chloride, pH 8 or 8.8, or this is stacking gel, pH 6.8. Okay. So you have these two types of gels where the pH is different. This lower pH in the stacking gel helps protein in the mixture stack together as a tight band at the border of the stacking gel and the resolving gel here, so that the separation can get they get separated easily and you get sharper bands. And tris glycine, as I said, is the running buffer. The pH is 8.3. So you load over here, and then because of the dye, you can visualize to what extent they have migrated under the influence of an electric field. So once they have run something like 2/3 of the gel length, then you can switch off the current. Okay, and using either Comasi brilliant blue, you get this kind of a blue band. Or if the concentration of the protein in the sample is less, you can use AgNO3. So you will get this kind of a reddish brown band. Okay. Here, minimum concentration it can detect is 1 microgram. Here, it can detect something like 10 nanogram also, 100 times more sensitive. So depending upon the concentration of the protein in the sample that you are separating, you can use either CBB as a staining dye. So there is a procedure for staining and de-staining, right? And if the concentration is less, you can use AgNO3 so that bands will be visible. So this is an excellent technique, a very routine technique for separating, for visualizing, for resolving proteins in the sample. So thank you very much. If you have any questions in the next class, you can